Hello and welcome. I'm Vita Flores from Latino Marin. Today we have judicial candidate Nicole Pantaleo.
Thank you, Vita. Thank you so much for having me. This is such an honor and privilege. I really do appreciate this.
The Latino community is excited to hear about our judgeship candidates. So we're going to start today with a little learning experience. So teach us about the court system here in Marin. So tell us about the race that you're running in.
Sure. So I'm running for judge in Marin County for seat number 2. And there are 9 candidates in this particular race. So it'll be the only one on the ballot where you're going to see a bunch of names. And hopefully I can encourage all of your viewers to vote for Nicole Pantaleo for judge. And in Marin County, there are 12 judges. And the reason that this seat is open is because Judge Diopel has decided to retire, and she did not file to run again for her particular seat. So it provided a wonderful opportunity for lawyers in the county who qualify to run for judge. And so this would be to be judge for the county of Marin, which would serve all of Marin County. So that's from the border at Novato all the way down to Sausalito. And Marin County actually ends in the middle of the Golden Gate Bridge.
Let's talk about your educational background. Where did you go to school?
Well, I went to, I've been here since I was a small child. So I grew up in Marin County. And I went to preschool here through high school. I'm a graduate of Terralinda High School, and I went to Miller Creek Junior High as well. So I'm a product of the public school system here, which I'm very proud of. And I went to the University of Southern California. So I'm a USC graduate. I double majored in political science and international relations and graduated with full honors. I did a thesis in both of those degrees. And then I went to UC Hastings College of the Law in San Francisco.
Are you licensed here in the state of California?
Yes. In order to run for judge, you have to be fully licensed with the California State Bar and have served as an attorney for at least 10 years.
Have you always worked here in Marin County?
I have as an attorney. So my career here has been as a prosecutor. I've been working very hard to protect the citizens of this county as a deputy district attorney for Marin for over 11 years. My primary focus has been in the prosecution of sexual assault crimes and domestic violence and other crimes as well. Before I went to law school, though, I did work in civil law firms, and I did that for 3 years as a paralegal that specialized in litigation. So I have worked with civil attorneys, so I'm familiar with the civil law practice, even though I wasn't a civil law attorney, but it's not completely foreign to me.
Tell us about the different courts that you could potentially work in.
Well, there's different divisions in the Marin County Superior Court. So the biggest division is the criminal division, which everyone I'm sure is familiar with because everyone knows about criminal law. But there's also the civil division. There are departments that do probate, that do juvenile justice, and those are the main departments. And there's also family law as well. And there's a traffic court division too.
It's not a very sexy race for many Marinites. What are 2 key things that you think that Marin residents need to look for when they look at candidates for this race?
I think the 2 things that voters really should look at is what is the candidate's background, what is their experience, but also how connected are they to the community. You really want a judge that cares about this community, that has Marin values, that's deeply rooted and invested in this community. I grew up here. I've been here since I was a child, and I still live here, and I've served here for my entire career. And I'm deeply invested in this community. All of us are lawyers. You know, everyone is smart. You know, we're all smart. We've all worked hard. But, you know, what really makes someone different is the level of experience. And when you're a prosecutor, you spend the majority of your career in the courtroom. You're living in court. That's where you do your cases. So I'm very familiar with the courtroom, with the culture, with how to get things done, with how to be efficient, and really what's extremely important too is how to treat people well. You have to treat litigants and parties and everyone who comes into court with dignity and with respect. People come into court and, Vita, they're scared. You know, most people, they've never been to court before, whether it's a defendant, you know, that's in custody, or whether it's someone who's bringing a case, or even a juror who walks in for the first time. This is a very foreign experience to them. So you have to be a judge who is welcoming, because you're there to serve the people. This is their court. And I think that's something that's really important, that judges have to remember that. And you have to be knowledgeable of the law. You have to be loyal to the law and to fairness and to equality, which I think is so critical too.
What professional organizations do you belong to?
Well, I belong to the Marin Bar Association. I belong to the Marin County Women's Lawyers, the Marin County Prosecutors Association, and the South Asian Bar Association of Northern California. I also belong to a lot of nonprofit organizations as well, which I think are just as important, if not more important, than a lot of bar associations, such as the Rotary Club of San Rafael, the Seroptimus, which really works on women's rights and bettering the lives of girls and women throughout the world, and here in Marin too. Yes. You know, these organizations are so important. The Marin Environmental Forum, you know, all these different groups, they do great work to help the community here. And so I think it's important that you not just belong to bar organizations, but that you really do things that volunteer and that give of your time to give back to this community too.
Can you tell me a little bit
Sure.
about your family background?
Yes, I'm very proud to say I'm first generation Italian American. So my parents are both immigrants, which, you know, it's such an astonishing journey when you are the first person who gets to go to college and graduate in the United States. My grandparents were from northern Italy along with my mother. They were from an area called Istria. And during World War II, my grandfather was a partisan fighter against the Nazi occupation. And after that, after 1945, that part of Italy was annexed to Yugoslavia, and it became communist. So all of a sudden, my family found themselves from being occupied by the Germans to then being occupied by the communists. They were behind the Iron Curtain. And you can imagine, you know, what was going on in that time period, where millions of people in Europe were suddenly behind the Iron Curtain, and my family was part of that. And they had to flee, and they left separately in pieces. You know, one person had to go at a time, and they went. My grandpa went first, and then my grandmother, and then the children. And you see this now happening all over the world, where war is separating families and refugees, and there's so much movement in immigration around the world. And it's something that I really understand coming from that background. And after they were finally reunited, they did get to come here in 1951 as war refugees, and they pursued the American dream. They came here with nothing, and they worked really hard, and they opened Cafe Trieste in San Francisco, you know, and with, you know, just tons of desire and hard work, they made it. And I was fortunate enough to be given that opportunity to go to school, and, you know, their lessons of justice and of teaching me, you know, what happened during that time period about war crimes and about humanitarian, what happens when people are separated, and these horrible atrocities that were going on during World War II. That was taught to me as a child, and that really instilled in me those values, which is why I really went into public service, which is why, you know, I care so deeply about what happens to people, and why I've really dedicated my life to serving this community. And my father as well, he's from Italy too. He's from Padma, and he was raised in Bari, which is in southern Italy. And he came here as an immigrant, and he worked really hard doing blue collar work, like so many people, and providing for his family. And I'm just so blessed. And you know what they say, Vita, to whom much is given, much is expected. And I just feel very lucky that I was given an opportunity to be in this country and was raised by such a great family and by such a great community here in Marin County.
You are passionate about your cultural background. Many Latinos are passionate about their cultural history and don't want to lose that. So I appreciate you sharing that story with us.
Absolutely. And it's like we're cousins, you know,
Yes.
Italians and Latinos, so
Yes.
completely understand.
Exactly. But tell me a little bit about your current endorsements.
Sure. Well, I've been very fortunate to be supported by Paula Camina, who is our former district attorney. She is an amazing woman and a great leader in this community. Joe Nation as well is supporting me. He is our former assemblyman for Marin County and Sonoma to the state assembly. I've also been endorsed by an amazing list of defense attorneys. And you know, what's so incredible, people have this stereotype that they think just because you are a prosecutor that somehow the defense attorneys are not going to support you. That's not true if you have been an ethical and fair prosecutor, because as a prosecutor you have a duty to pursue the truth and to pursue justice, and I've done that for my entire career. And I've had to make really tough decisions. When you charge someone with a sexual assault crime, that's a big decision because it can destroy their life. And I have that weight of that decision. And those defense attorneys that have supported me, that I've tried cases against their clients, great attorneys like David Vogelstein, John Rankin, Scott Geit, and oh gosh, there's just so many. Bob Casper, Carl Gonzer, Elisa Lasser, John Ronfola, Mr. Fiumera from Sonoma County in his office. So many of them are supporting me because they know I have always been fair and ethical with their clients. And to have people reach across the aisle so early in this election and say, we support you for judge because we know that you have always been fair and have sought justice, that is a huge endorsement to me, to have so many defense attorneys come forward. It really speaks volumes, and it really touches me. Been a lot of support from advocates that I have worked with who have been there for victims, and I've been endorsed as well by the Novato Police Department Association, as well as that from Tiburon.
What are your qualifications for judgeship?
Well, I've been serving for over 11 years as a prosecutor, as I stated before, and I primarily have been serving in the area of sexual assault and domestic violence crimes, and those are really serious crimes. When you charge a sexual assault case, that person potentially, for many of these cases, could go away for life. So when you make that decision, it's a big decision, and many attorneys don't ever have to face these types of decisions in their practice. And you have to look at all the evidence, and you have to weigh it very fairly. And even just the allegation is so heavy, because if you call somebody a sex offender, you know, it doesn't matter if they have a great attorney, and let's say that the DA made an error and they get the case dismissed, their life is still destroyed. And I have always been very cautious and very mindful of, you know, not falsely accusing somebody, because I understand how critical that is. And it's not just about the incarceration, it's about just their entire life. You know, their house, their livelihood, their reputation. So having that background of really understanding justice is extremely important. The other thing too is I've worked in the rehabilitative court system that works with adult offenders who have a drug problem, and also those that are mentally ill in our STAR court system. So I've had to really collaborate with the entire justice system to help those people. So I know the ins and outs of how that works. And the other part too, like I said before, I have worked in private firms before I went to law school. So I am familiar with that area. And lastly, I did work for a federal judge, which was so inspiring while I was in law school. And I've done numerous jury trials. I've done hundreds of hearings. And like I said before, I've really spent the majority of my career inside the courtroom. But even more than that, I really understand Marin, and I love Marin County, and I understand its values. And its values are what I was raised with and what I have in my heart. And I think that qualification of the proper temperament, of caring about people, being invested in this community, and treating people with respect and with dignity, that's important. It's not just the knowledge of the law, which I do have, and the experience, but it's how you treat people. Mm-hmm. And I think the entire picture is what people have to consider when they decide who to vote for.
Mm-hmm. How long have you worked at the DA's office?
Over 11 years.
What additional information should voters know about you?
Well, I've been really involved in the Latino community for quite a while. I've had a lot of victims that are Spanish speaking. So I've always worked with advocates in outreach with them. I've worked with advocates in our office, Ana Macias and Nilda Fernandez, who are fluent in Spanish. Mm-hmm. And I've always made an effort to try and reach out to those victims, be available as much as possible. I recently have been working as well in our fraud division for insurance fraud. And I reached out to the Canal Alliance and had a meeting, and I had a meeting as well with Marin Legal Aid, and I said, hey, I want to reach out to the Hispanic community. I want to reach out to workers who are having their labor stolen from them. It's called wage theft, who are being exploited by employers that don't have workman's compensation and that are being trafficked. And if you have these clients, please call us, because we want to help you, because those are crimes. And I think, looking at the community as a whole, we want to make sure that everyone understands that we're there to protect everybody. Mm-hmm. And everyone has to feel that they are equally treated in court and that everyone is welcome. It is everyone's courtroom. And that's something that I've tried to do throughout my career, and really made an affirmative effort to do that, no matter what my assignment was within the district attorney's office.
Mm-hmm. Yes, you answered my next question. How have you served the Latino community and their interests? Is there anything you'd like to add?
People are scared sometimes to come into the criminal justice system, particularly in parts of the Latino community. I get a lot of questions from people. Does it matter what my alien status is? Should I make a police report? If I testify, am I going to be in trouble? People are so scared to come out of the shadows, even when they're victims. And what people need to understand is that we're here to serve everyone. And it's really important that our community is a safe place for everybody, and that our courtroom serves all members of this community, regardless of what their background is, regardless of their status, regardless of what their religion is, what their race is. And that's the message that I really want to get out. This seat is important. Judges make law that affect everyone. It doesn't just affect one person's case, it affects the entire community. Mm-hmm. And I think when you think about a judge, you need to think about somebody who is fair, who is conscientious, and who works hard and is intelligent and knows the law, but also respects and cares about the entire community. And that is something that I have demonstrated for my entire career. And the Latino community is very much a part of this community, and it's something that I personally really do care about.
In summary, why should the voters vote for you?
Well, the voters should vote for me because I'm experienced. Like I said before, I care tremendously about this community. I promise you that I will treat people in my courtroom with dignity and respect, and I will always remember that it is our courtroom. And I will be loyal to the law, I will be loyal to justice, and I will be loyal to equality.
Before we close, I'm wondering if you could let us know how viewers can reach out to you.
Oh, sure. We have a website up. It's www. Pantaleo, which is Pantaleo, for judge.com.
I appreciate you taking the time for the Latino community to meet you, and I especially enjoy you saying that you want them to come out of the shadows and stand and encourage them to
Absolutely.
be part of the community.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you very
Thank you,
much. It's a
Vida.
pleasure to speak to you.
Thank you. It was an honor to meet you.
On behalf of Latino Marin, I'll say good night. Latino Marin weaves the Latino experience into the fabric of Marin County. We are advocating and educating our Latino community. We're also donating laptops to students. Our goal for next year is to donate 500 computers. If you have a gently used laptop with a newer operating system, please contact Latino Marin at latinomarin360@gmail.com. We also have a sister website called Voto Marin. You'll find PowerPoint presentations, what's on your ballot, dedicated information about Latinos voting in the United States, California, and Marin County. Thank you very much for joining us, and please visit our website, latinomarin.org, votomarin.org. Follow our Twitter feed at Latino Marin 360.